Previously on the Ultimate Mortal Kombat Iceberg Explained.
Iceberg, right ahead! Mortal Kombat!
Error macro. ABACABB.
Toasty!
Would you settle for me, sausage?
Meat.
She kinda bad though.
It's empty.
Who's Keeper of Time where you're from? Until recently, it was Kano.
Later on in this bizarre story, it was revealed that Electronic Gaming Monthly manufactured this fake character as an April Fool's joke. You can catch a glimpse of Scorpion playing Sonic the Hedgehog in chess. Prince Zebron, who led his race of Zebramen to freedom as they chanted the call, Viva Zebron. Otherwise, I'll have part 2 up as soon as possible. Possible.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Welcome to part 2 of explaining the Ultimate Mortal Kombat Iceberg. In the first part, we covered some fun, interesting, and weird topics as I continued to broaden my knowledge of the deep Mortal Kombat lore. With levels 1 through 4 complete, we proceed to levels 5 through 8, which get even more bizarre and obscure, so I hope you're ready. But before we get there, I have some wrongs to right and some amends to make, since I'm a person who can admit when they've missed the mark on something. And on that note, you could unlock Scorpion and Sub-Zero using cheats, but nothing changed other than the character models.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
As pointed out by a few of you in the comments section, Sub-Zero and Scorpion each had their own unique moves in Shaolin Monks, so that was a blunder on my part. Also, I mentioned that you could unlock them using cheats, but you could also unlock them by beating the story mode using Kung Lao and Liu Kang, respectively. You may remember that in part 1, I had no response to the entry named 50 Shades of Jade. Despite quite a bit of research on my end, I could not find anything regarding 50 Shades of Jade. Based on the name, it's probably something I can't show on YouTube anyway, so we move on.
What an idiot!
Thankfully, some of you in the comments section, including the creator of the Iceberg, enlightened me on this topic. This comment by Eucalyptus Yeehan summed it up perfectly. It may be a reference to how Jade has always had dark skin, but when MK Mobile added Jade as a character, this being before MK11, instead of using MK9 Jade's model, they used design elements from concept art for Li Mei for MKX, since she appears in the story mode, such as the design of her costume, as well as making her very pale with East Asian facial features, essentially painting Li Mei green and calling her Jade. Nowadays, that model is still in the game, but Jade has received a lot of character cards that use her MK11 model, and some of her support cards were updated to show MK11 Jade instead of that old Jade model. In the entry titled Retcons, I mistakenly referred to Nightwolf's appearance in MK11 Aftermath as a retcon, questioning where the Revenant version last seen in MKX ended up. However, despite just having played through the story expansion, I failed to remember and mention that the Revenant version does appear in the game. The version placed in the void alongside Fujin and Shang Tsung by Kronika was likely taken from the timeline between the original Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 3. So overall, it's not a retcon. On that same entry, the Johnny Cage retcon I mentioned is interesting, but as pointed out by Euro Patriot, Cage's death in MK3 and subsequent resurrection does not qualify as a retcon. I'm pretty sure this correction has to do with my mention of Raiden becoming a good guy in MK2. Raiden's entire role was retconned in MK2, turning him from a bad guy into the leader of Earthrealm. This comment by Yeez expands on that plotline. He writes, I thought the point of Raiden becoming a quote-unquote good guy in MK2 is because of the John Tobias comics, establishing that he was your typical Greek god archetype of evil and immoral while flexing their powers, and he was humbled by the way he was beaten by Liu Kang in the tournament into rethinking his responsibilities. Then the slaughter of the Shaolin happened and it really changed his mind. Lastly, On the entry titled Shang Tsung Created Chameleon, the Iceberg's creator clarified that this theory stems from the fact that the Deadpool is a result of the waste coming from the flesh pits. This waste manifests as acid, so it's possible Shang Tsung is just making Zaterran such as Chameleon in the flesh pits. Now that I've covered everything I misspoke about in part 1, let's move on to the remainder of the ultimate Mortal Kombat Iceberg, which, once again, is a well thought out creation courtesy of Reddit user CombatGuy800. So for the second consecutive video, grab yourself a snack, a drink, and your favorite Mortal Kombat pillow, and enjoy the ultimate Mortal Kombat Iceberg Part 2. Level 5. We are deep in the weeds of this iceberg, and the visual representation for this level is the Kraken Reptile skin from MKX, Michonne in MK1. Before NetherRealm Studios ultimately went with Omni-Man for Mortal Kombat 1, Michonne of the Walking Dead series was in strong consideration. Interestingly, writer Robert Kirkman is responsible for creating both Invincible and The Walking Dead. Michonne would have been a fun addition, but her katana may have been too similar to Kenshi. Multiple gods of Outworld. This entry refers to the intro of MK3, where Raiden states the following: "You have been chosen to represent Earth in Mortal Kombat. Be warned, although your souls are protected against Shao Kahn's evil, your lives are not. I cannot interfere any longer as your Earth is now ruled by the Outworld gods." These are the words of Raiden. It was initially believed that Shao Kahn was the only god of Outworld, but this intro leads us to believe otherwise. In addition to this, the Beta Layer stage description in Mortal Kombat Deception states that it was apparently home to an Outworld demigod known as the Death Knight. The storyline of late has not circled back to the multiple gods of Outworld idea, but it remains a strong possibility. Emperor Ying is a real person. Emperor Ying, as seen in the MK1 story mode, is a direct reference to the real-life first emperor of China, Qing Shi Huang.
Emperor Ying built this fortress during one of Earthrealm's most turbulent periods. Enemies beset him on all sides. He built a great army to protect his empire. He built a second one to protect him in the afterlife. This is Emperor Ying's Dragon Army.
The Emperor's mausoleum is surrounded by a massive terracotta army, which bears a strong resemblance to the underground army seen in Mortal Kombat 1. Quan Chi survived Deception. Remember this epic battle during the MK Deception intro? How about this realm-shattering blast orchestrated by Raiden to take down the Dragon King?
There was only one chance left. Raiden's sacrifice was in vain, for the blast had little effect on the Dragon King.
Well, this entry refers to Quan Chi surviving Deception by creating a portal before the blast affected him. If that's not the case, then it's possible that he died and Shinnok resurrected him. Jaghatai. Jaghatai refers to a character that would have been referenced in MK Special Forces before it became what it is today.
That is one big pile of shit.
It's become common knowledge that John Tobias was responsible for much of the Mortal Kombat lore up until he left Midway in 1999. He has since been quite transparent about the thought process behind certain plotlines and backstories. He writes, "In the original Special Forces story, a scientist/cult leader unearths the ancient tomb of a Mongolian warlord named Jaghatai, who worships Shao Kahn as a deity. Jaghatai attempted but failed to breach the dimensional gateway between Earth and Outworld, expecting to release Shao Kahn's legions upon humanity. But where Jaghatai's sorcerers used failed magic, the scientist created technology to disrupt the gateway. He needed a nuclear weapon to trigger the disruption, and he hires the Black Dragon to steal it, leading to their pursuit by Sonya/Jax and their Special Forces unit. In the end, that technology is captured by the Special Forces and later used as a part of their Outworld investigation agency. A bit of trivia: they used it to travel to Outworld in the MK4 comic book. In real-world history, Jaghatai was a descendant of Genghis Khan and ruled the Khanate in northwestern Asia for a bit. Maybe a vague implication on my part that our earthly Khans were somehow inspired by the Khans of Outworld. I was reminded several months ago of the Special Forces Shao Kahn connection when I rediscovered an old script for the aborted version of the game. Dr. Rotwang. Dr. Rotwang is a Black Dragon affiliated character who appeared in Cabal's MK9 arcade ending. It's revealed that Dr. Rotwang developed Kano's iconic laser eye and repaired Cabal's respirator.
Victory over Shao Kahn came with a heavy price. Cabal's respirator was badly damaged, and if it was not repaired soon, he would surely die. Desperate, he tracked down Kano and forced from him the identity of the cyberneticist who developed Kano's eye laser. The good doctor was not easy to find, but he was more than eager to help, for a price. Now Cabal is rebuilt. He is better than he was before, stronger, faster. He will need to be in order to repay his debt.
However, this wasn't Dr. Rotwang's only appearance. He also appears in the Mortal Kombat novel written by Jeff Rovin, which serves as a prequel to the events of the first game. In this story, Dr. Rotwang is a German doctor once again responsible for implementing Kano's cybernetic eye. He's also the doctor depicted in the MK Legacy series. In this storyline, he's responsible for creating the Cyber Lin Kuei warriors and again creates Kano's cybernetic eye in another episode. The character is potentially based on C.A. Rotwang from the 1927 film Metropolis, where he is depicted as a brilliant scientist responsible for creating a female robot. He hasn't been seen since, but it's reasonable to think he's behind more than just Kano's eye, like perhaps Suhao's chest laser, and maybe even Jax's arm enhancements. DOTR hates Johnny Cage. This one's pretty simple. Despite being one of the most recognizable characters in Mortal Kombat history, the animated Defenders of the Realm series does not feature Johnny Cage whatsoever. To take that one step further, he is not even so much as mentioned in any of the 13 episodes. It's possible that this was a result of Johnny not being in MK3 or UMK3, but it's still weird that he essentially doesn't exist in this storyline. Draxxon. Draxxon is a former emperor of Outworld as depicted in the Mortal Kombat Malibu comic series. He appears in issue number 1 of the Raiden and Kano storyline. Nicknamed the Soul Snatcher, Draxxon was a formidable force in Outworld and the wielder of the Ebon Rule weapon. With fellow Outworlder Kane at his right hand, Raiden tapped into Kane's noble side and orchestrated the betrayal of Draxxon. Not understanding the full power of Ebon Rule, Kane used this weapon to defeat Draxxon. As I mentioned in part 1, Draxxon is one of many characters created specifically for the Malibu comic series so they could be killed off. Federation of Martial Arts. Mortal Kombat Federation of Martial Arts is a series developed in 2000 as an extension of the '95 film Mortal Kombat Conquest and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It's described as a stock trading game where you'd buy stock in a specific fighter, and the value would increase or decrease depending on their performance in a scripted one-on-one fight.
Mortal Kombat, Federation of Martial Arts.
What the hell was that?
So, we meet again.
I hear you've been hanging out with Shang Tsung.
Watch what you say about your future master.
The format centered around two usually familiar Mortal Kombat characters fighting one another. Fights would almost always last 3 rounds, and each fighter's card values would adjust based on the outcome of each fight. It featured several actors from the original Threshold productions of Mortal Kombat, including Lynn Red Williams as Jax, and John Medlin as Ermac. Each episode's runtime varied from less than a minute to 2.5 minutes, and honestly, it might be the worst production ever associated with Mortal Kombat, even worse than the live stage show. You can find Federation of Martial Arts footage on the Mortal Kombat Online YouTube page, and it's seriously terrible.
Where's Ray, huh? Where's Ray now? Let's go, Ray! Where you at, baby? Where's the other people, huh? This is Jack's world. Outworld ain't got nothing common here. Where's Ray at, huh? I got questions. What the hell is Ray?
Kashoo. Kashoo is a squirrel that can be seen scurrying around on the Mortal Kombat 1 main menu. You can also find this critter riding on a Roomba, wielding a chainsaw while wearing a hockey mask in the Invasions game mode. I can't believe I actually just said that. You can add this creature to your team by acquiring Kashoo's automatic Shin Shredder talisman on your Invasions journey. And believe me, it's hilarious. Can we get Kashoo as a cameo in this game, please? Unholy Alliance. Believe it or not, the Unholy Alliance is the name given to Shang Tsung and Quan Chi's partnership before 2002's Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. As I mentioned in part 1, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi paired up in the Mortal Kombat Conquest TV series. This occurred in episode 10, dubbed Unholy Alliance, where the two sorcerers conspired to destroy Kung Lao and Earthrealm. The two ultimately betray each other before Shao Kahn tortures Shang Tsung for failing him once again. Shang Tsung and Quan Chi would find their way back to each other numerous times throughout the series, most recently in the Mortal Kombat 1 reboot, but it's often forgotten that the Deadly Alliance began as the Unholy Alliance in 1998. DOTR Shinnok. I'm assuming this refers to Shinnok's absence from the animated Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm TV show. Despite Quan Chi officially debuting for the first time ever in this series, the fallen Elder God is surprisingly absent, and there is no mention of him, similar to Johnny Cage from earlier. We've mostly seen Quan Chi and Shinnok together in the series beginning in MK4 and Mythologies, so it was weird that Shinnok did not appear whatsoever in Defenders of the Realm. Rain's Shokan Dagger. This refers to a side mission in Mortal Kombat Deception's Conquest mode, where Rain tasks Shujinko with tracking down an ancient Shokan Dagger and returning it to him.
Yes, this is the Shokan Dagger. Give it to me and I will reward you. Goro would be pleased to have it back, but I plan to keep it for myself.
Although it seems like a throwaway moment, Rain's Armageddon design features a dagger on his waist. This could very well be the same dagger from the previous game, and if so, that's incredible continuity. Jandy leaked MK12. This refers to a picture posted on Twitter by NetherRealm Studios employee Jonathan Anderson, also known as Jandy, in January 2022. It doesn't look like anything crazy, right? We have an Injustice 2 poster and some Mortal Kombat memorabilia. But if you focus your attention on the desktop icons and this email on the right, they reveal some interesting details. If we enhance the desktop icons, we could see a file named MK12_MAST and Reptile. Sure enough, Mortal Kombat 12 became Mortal Kombat 1 as the next installment in the franchise. Reptile is included in the game, and if you look all the way to the left, the word cameo is in plain view. Moving to the email, we can make out some words presumably by a coworker named Christine, who writes about taking extra care of some material. Jandy deleted this tweet shortly after it was posted, and NRS never addressed the findings of passionate Mortal Kombat fans. MK1 would be officially announced on May 18th, 2023, and the rest, as they say, is history. Argus survived. This entry refers to Argus, the god and protector of Edenia, who who had a cameo appearance in various games, but was most notably an NPC in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. He and his wife Delia were responsible for the birth of Armageddon main characters Dagon and Taven. As the story goes, Delia created the primary boss of Armageddon, Blaze, as a test to determine which of their two sons would become the new protector of Edenia. Now, it's believed that Dagon killed Argus after he prematurely awoke from an extended slumber. However, various character endings, including Rain and Rai Cho, indicate that Argus survived this attack.
The half-brother of Taven and Dagon, Rain absorbed the power of Blaze and became a full god. I had not anticipated that the victor would be the son whose true identity I have hidden for so long. I bestowed the title of Protector of Edenia on Rain, but my pride in my son was misplaced. He uses his power to enslave Edenia, and now that I have ascended to Elder God status, I am forbidden to stop him.
Meet in Motor Kombat. Motor Kombat is a minigame in Mortal Kombat Armageddon that features 10 playable characters, including Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Mileena, Cyrax, and more. Weirdly enough, hackers who dug deep into Armageddon discovered that the fan-favorite character Meat was planned to be playable in Motor Kombat. You can see the character model in this image. Although Meat appears as a playable fighter in the game, he did not make the cut in Motor Kombat for some unknown reason. MK2 Attract Mode Leitmotif. MK2 Attract Mode Leitmotif refers to this iconic tune. It's unquestionably one of the most memorable songs in Mortal Kombat history, but what if I told you that NRS included this leitmotif in various themes in MK11 and MK1? Like this part in the MK11 Soul Chamber, this part in the Crown's Deception, this part in Shang Tsung's Legacy, this part in the MK1 Summon the Titans theme, this part in the Invasion's Pyramid Mesa, and lastly, this part when I go to sleep every night. Level 6. This level features even more obscure topics, with the visual representation being Reptile's appearance in Deadly Alliance. Argentinian MK3 Comic. Back in 1996, the Argentina-based company Mayday Comics released 3 comics based on the Mortal Kombat series, specifically set during the events of MK3. These were never released in America, and only Spanish versions exist today, but you can find a translated English version thanks to Tabmock99 and Draxxon. The 3 comic story arc serves as a continuation after Sindel's resurrection, but takes the plot in a different direction. It features most of the characters you'd expect, such as Liu Kang, Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Smoke, and even Kintaro. Although it's definitely not canon, there are some innovative ideas, including Shang Tsung teaming up with Earthrealm to end Shao Kahn. In my opinion, it's not something you need to go out of your way to read, but it's always interesting to see these obscure adaptations of the MK series. If you have some spare time, feel free to check them out. All 3 issues are incredibly rare, so if you find them out there in the wild, I strongly advise you to pick them up. Kintaro does not have balls. This refers to the Mortal Kombat 2 source code, which explicitly states that Johnny Cage's nut punch does not work on Kintaro.
Nope.
Nope.
The reason given is that, quote, boss monsters have no balls, dummy. It's also possible that since he's a cat, he may have been neutered.
Huh?
7th Kamidogu. The Kamidogu are 6 artifacts that contain the essence of each realm in the Mortal Kombat universe. Earth Realm, Nether Realm, Chaos Realm, Outworld, Order Realm, and Edenia. The Kamidogu became arguably the most important aspect of Mortal Kombat Deception's Conquest mode. The Dragon King Onaga, acting as the spirit entity Damashi, guides Shujinko through uniting the 6 artifacts, but Onaga outright says that there's one last piece.
I do not understand. The Kamidogu should have been transported to the Elder Gods. Why is it not happening?
Because you have not completely finished the quest.
What are you?
Ah, yes. Familiar words. Perhaps this will help you to understand.
Damashi! What has he done to you? Let him go!
Shujinko, please save me. Oh, fool. Damashi does not exist. The avatar you see before you is merely a projection of my consciousness. I manipulated this astral puppet from beyond the boundaries of death, and in turn, manipulated you.
You may have them. They do nothing. You have wasted your time. Nothing happened when I placed them all on the altar.
Not all. If you had found the last piece, the altar would have transported them to the Elder Gods. But the last piece is currently in Outworld in the possession of a fool sorcerer. I will deal with him later.
In Deception, there is a space missing in the Nexus, indicating that a 7th Kamidogu exists. Based on Onaga's words, the final piece is Shinnok's amulet, which at this time is in Quan Chi's possession. So this is the 7th Kamidogu in this timeline. 10 years later, the Kamidogu resurfaced in the Mortal Kombat X comic series. This time, the Kamidogu artifacts are daggers used to invoke blood magic. With Havoc having such a crucial role in this storyline, the Cleric of Chaos later reveals that there is a 7th Kamidogu dagger, but it's never expanded upon. Another update to the ongoing story of the Kamidogu may have arrived via the Chaos Reigns MK1 story expansion trailer. The main antagonist, Titan Havoc, is clearly in possession of something that resembles the original Kamidogu, but I suppose the jury is still out on this one. Wen the Elder is dead. Wen the Elder is a minor character that appears in the Mortal Kombat Deception Conquest mode. He provides Shujinko with a quest that gives him the opportunity to join the White Lotus Society. However, he tells young Shujinko to return when he has more experience. Later in the game, Wen the Elder welcomed Shujinko into the White Lotus Society, but he was too late to represent the group in Mortal Kombat. He's essentially a throwaway side mission character, but Wen the Elder was mentioned 10 years later in the MKX story mode in this line.
No extraordinary means come well.
They raided the Wuxi Academy, killed Master Wen.
So apparently, Wen is dead. Reptile's theme in MK11. Remember the epic Liu Kang vs. Reptile battle theme from the '95 film? The name of that song is Control by Tracy Lords, and it is synonymous with the incredibleness of the fight scene. This entry references the music from the Shaolin Trap Dungeon stage in MK11. If you make it to the 3rd round, listen closely, because the beat and rhythm is a clear reference to the Liu vs. Reptile theme in the '95 film. Scrapped MK8 pitch. Scrapped MK8 pitch refers to plans for an 8th Mortal Kombat game before MK vs. DC came to be. In an article published by Kotaku, Ed Boon was quoted as saying the original plan was for MK8 to be a quote-unquote very dark, serious, and gritty take on the series. A back-to-basics reboot that was free of vibrant, saturated colors. It was said to be heavily inspired by the look of Gears of War. Although it's unclear how far into development MK8 had progressed, images of Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya Blade, Raiden, and Kano are available online thanks to Vincent Proce, who actually worked for Midway and created these concepts. It would have been interesting to see where this reboot took the series. Thankfully, the reboot we all know now as MK9 arrived in 2011. MKX Ancestor Portraits. This refers to a brief cutscene in Mortal Kombat X during Chapter 3, which centers around Kung Jin. While attempting to steal back a family heirloom for Raiden, these 6 portraits are visible on the wall. These portraits clearly reference Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage's ancestor, the founder of the Lin Kuei clan, the Great Kung Lao, and Kenshi's ancestor. It's heavily theorized that these are all former Mortal Kombat champions, and we know that 2 of them were for sure. I thought this was a fun little Easter egg, and I appreciate that the developers provided context to each character. Reiko is and isn't Shao Kahn. This entry stems from Reiko's memorable yet confusing MK4 ending. Roll that tape.
What do you mean by that?
As depicted in this ending, Reiko walks through a portal, sits on a throne, and puts on Shao Kahn's iconic helmet before the scene ends abruptly. There was little explanation as to what this moment meant. Is Reiko related to Shao Kahn? Is Reiko Shao Kahn himself? His MK4 ending on the Game Boy Color lends more to the theory that Reiko is Shao Kahn. It reads as follows: with the battle over and only himself left standing, Reiko returns back to rule the realm which he left. Once again as ruler supreme, he can continue the attack on Earth as he did when leading the assault in the last Mortal Kombat. As we all know, it was Shao Kahn who led the attack on Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat 3. So this ending either indicates Reiko was the mastermind, or he really is Shao Kahn. People like Ed Boon have said Reiko is not Shao Kahn. This comment came from an old IRC chat, and huge shout out to Tabmock99 for this screenshot. In this chat, Ed Boon says that Reiko's MK4 ending was meant to add an element of mystery to the character. He follows that up saying that Reiko is likely one of Shao Kahn's minions, while John Tobias, who worked primarily on the story, has said the intention was for Reiko to be Shao Kahn.
As far as characters go, one of my favorite characters, and I don't know where or what the inspiration was, Rico or Raiko, depending on what you want to call him. What is his deal? I mean, he puts Shao Kahn helmet on. Then he becomes a general, but then people are like, well, maybe he is Shao Kahn, reincarnated, a younger version. The story's kind of like floated around. How did he actually come to be?
He was actually, and here I don't know that I've talked about this much, but he was. My idea behind him was that he was Shao Kahn somehow reincarnated as a general, and so I thought that he would eventually re-become Shao Kahn. That I don't know what they eventually did with that character.
Mortal Kombat Deception later debunks this theory, proving that Reiko had a certain affinity for Shao Kahn's helmet and aspirations to become emperor.
I have discovered that Reiko, formerly my most trusted general, has been entering my private chamber to wear my helmet. Find him and tell him he faces death if I find my possessions tampered with again.
I am Reiko, general of Shao Kahn's army. What is it you wish to tell me? Oh, Shao Kahn knows about that? Tell him I will no longer enter his chamber or wear his helmet. But just between us, his helmet will belong to me in due time.
Unused MKT Human Smoke Portrait. Human Smoke was included in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and there is an unused character select portrait, which you can see here. I personally think this one is way better than the one they went with. Reptile's visual hallucinations. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, Reptile attempts to warn Shao Kahn of the Deadly Alliance's plot to assassinate him. Unfortunately, the vampirist Natara distracts him, allowing Quan Chi and Shang Tsung to carry out their plan. There's a bizarre segment in the Deadly Alliance Conquest where Reptile hallucinates while working with Natara. Syzoth begins to attack her, thinking she is Shang Tsung and later Princess Kitana. As a token of appreciation for enduring these hallucinations, Reptile declares Natara his new master. It's unclear what led to these hallucinations, but I suppose the most likely theory is that it was a result of Reptile's devolution, which I explained in part 1. Reptile later learned of Natara's betrayal and manipulation after following her into the lava shrine. Natara ultimately escaped, but this led to Onaga's egg hatching and the Dragon King's spirit possessing Reptile. Level 7. Were the rumors of an MK Annihilation skin for Rain in MK11 true? Did Kitana really take out Kenshi's ancestors? Let's find out. The visual representation for level 7 is Reptile from the MK 2021 movie. Rai Cho Foreshadowing. Rai Cho Foreshadowing refers to a pair of characters who appeared in Mortal Kombat properties before the Drunken Master finally debuted.
Your comments were very hurtful. You degrade both me and pregnant whales.
First up, we have Bo from the Malibu Comic series. This character served as Johnny Cage's bodyguard, who intervenes during a fight between Goro and Liu Kang. He later defeats Reptile in the Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition comic series, also by Malibu Comics. Apart from his name, I couldn't find any connection to Rai Cho. Another character that foreshadowed Rai Cho is Master Cho from the MK Conquest TV series. Master Cho appears only in one episode, fittingly called The Master. The story reveals Master Cho to be the trainer and mentor of Sorcerer Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung ultimately betrays Master Cho and joins Shao Kahn. 4 centuries later, Master Cho returns to avenge this betrayal, only to lose a fight to Shang Tsung and another of his former students, Omegas. But his fate is ultimately left unknown. These two characters could certainly be a coincidence, but it's fun to speculate that the inspiration for Master Rai Cho started here. Where's Quan? The Iceberg's creator assisted me with this one, which taught me about the mysterious WQ coffin in the MK Deception crypt. Apparently, if you navigated the crypt in a very specific way, every coffin would sport the letters W and Q. I found older Mortal Kombat forums with insane theories, but the most popular one was that the WQ stood for Where is Quan? As many Mortal Kombat fans know, a blast in the intro cinematic sent Shang Tsung and Quan Chi off the game's roster.
There was only one chance left.
So naturally, the WQ coffin led many to believe that Quan Chi was a secret unlockable character. It was later confirmed that this was just a visual glitch, but it shows the power of Mortal Kombat's knack for mystery and secrets hidden within the games. Track 47. This refers to a bizarre track found on the PC version of Mortal Kombat 3. As explained by Reddit user SFSDFD, the CD had 47 tracks. Track 1 contained data, whereas tracks 2 through 46 contained background music. Track 47, however, contained a voice recorded backwards. Upon investigation, it was discovered that this was the poem titled "'Tis the Voice of the Lobster," written by Lewis Carroll. The origin of this strange inclusion on the MK3 PC version remains a mystery, but here's a listen.
While the owl and the panther were sharing a pie. The panther took pie crust and gravy and meat,
while the owl had the dish as its share of the treat. When the pie was all finished, the owl, as a boon, was kindly permitted to pocket the spoon, while the panther received knife and fork with a growl.
What the hell was that?
Annihilation Sektor. Remember this incredibly well-polished and not at all terrible follow-up to the groundbreaking 1995 Mortal Kombat film?
Shall it be destroyed? It is glorious!
Ah yes, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. You beautiful
pile of shit.
It's no secret that this film was based primarily on Mortal Kombat 3, with the inclusion of such iconic characters like Mileena, Rain, Ermac, Jade, and whatever this thing is. Oh yeah, the Cyber Ninjas were also in the film, and were arguably some of the best parts, at least aesthetically, but only Cyrax and Smoke made the cut, weirdly enough. Sektor's absence from the film made little sense, considering he is the ketchup to Cyrax's mustard. But did you know Sektor was included in the very first draft of the script? In fact, Sektor's name appears 15 times in this version. He was supposed to fight Liu Kang earlier in the film in place of Smoke, showcasing his flamethrower and missiles. Sub-Zero would have joined the fight much earlier, and instead of freezing the missile that ends the fight, Liu Kang instead would have jammed the missile inside Sektor's chest before pressing the fire button, causing it to explode. The rest of the fight was mostly the same, but the end product sadly omitted Sektor from the film entirely. Before moving on, let me know your honest thoughts about Mortal Kombat Annihilation in the comments section. I think it's terrible, but I still enjoy watching it to this very day. Kano was supposed to die in Deadly Alliance. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, it's revealed that Kano survived his encounter with Sonya in MK3. However, Deadly Alliance was supposed to be the end of the road for the Aussie. Rival Red Dragon member Mavado made a deal with the Deadly Alliance that would give him the chance to fight Kano in exchange for killing Kenshi. This fight played out in Mavado's arcade ending, depicting him kicking Kano off of a platform, presumably in Quan Chi's fortress.
For many years, Mavado's Red Dragon clan had been secretly engineering the destruction of their rivals, the Black Dragon. Through careful manipulation, Mavado had used the Special Forces to unwittingly aid them in this task. In return for eliminating Kenshi for the Deadly Alliance, Mavado was finally granted his battle with the last known member of the Black Dragon, Kano. After a long, brutal fight, Mavado emerged victorious, and all traces of the Black Dragon had been erased.
On the same stage in Deception, there are lasers beneath the platform that will cut you into pieces. Although the Deadly Alliance version didn't feature these lasers, based on Kano's appearance in the Mortal Kombat Armageddon Conquest mode, it's safe to assume that Kano either survived this fall or him falling off the platform was not canon. Michael Dorn. This one's pretty odd if it is what I think it is. Michael Dorn is an actor most famous for his portrayal of the Klingon Worf in Star Trek Next Generations. He's had several other movie and TV roles over the years, but this revolves around a one-off character named the Warrior King. This character was explicitly created as a part of a quote-unquote meta-series project that would connect 4 TV series into one cohesive storyline. What are the shows, you ask? Well, there was the Wing Commander Academy, Savage Dragon, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, and none other than the Street Fighter animated series. Yes, the much desired crossover between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter happened decades ago, but not the way you'd expect. Based on my research, this crossover was never formally announced. The Warrior King character, once again voiced by Michael Dorn, appeared prominently in the Street Fighter series, but his appearance in Defenders of the Realm was much more brief and non-speaking. The storyline centered around an orb that the Space Viking chased through the 4 cartoons. Once the Wing Commander episode ended, the Warrior King was never seen again. MK Next Gen. Mortal Kombat Next Gen is a title that came to light back in September 2021 via an Nvidia leak. The name Mortal Kombat Next Gen appeared alongside Mortal Kombat 12 in Roman numerals and something called Injustice 3 Gods Will Fall. Based on a recent report, Injustice 3 would have been the next game before NRS pivoted to Mortal Kombat 1. That checks the MK12 box since it's the 12th game in the series, but as for Mortal Kombat Next Gen, this is truly a mystery. Just for reference, some other games included in this leak have actually been announced and released, such as Helldivers 2, Gears of War 6, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Grand Theft Auto Remasters, Tekken 8, and more. My personal theory is that based on recent evidence, this could be the HD remake of the classic Mortal Kombat titles on next-gen systems that we've all been waiting for. I made a video a while ago covering the death of the original Mortal Kombat HD arcade collection, so maybe there's still a chance we get it. What do you think MK Next Gen could be? Kitana killed some of Kenshi's ancestors. This entry refers to two specific pre-fight interactions between Kitana and Kenshi in MKX.
Your sword contains ghosts?
My warrior ancestors.
I probably killed some of them.
And MK1.
Ever battle a blind swordsman?
You aren't the first, Takahashi.
It's unclear which ancestor she encountered, but since
she's 10,000 years old,
I believe it. Could this be one of them? Cole Young is Kung Jin. This may reference a specific theory that Cole Young's character in the MK 2021 film is Kung Jin. But if that's the case, I couldn't find anything. However, while researching this entry, I discovered that Cole Young actor Lewis Tan was initially cast to play Kung Jin in a live-action MK Legacy spin-off show called Mortal Kombat X Generations. This show would take place before the events of MKX, but it never saw the light of day. Here are some screenshots of Lewis Tan in costume as Kung Jin. If I had to guess, perhaps there is a theory that Cole Young is Kung Jin in the film, but I couldn't find anything concrete. Alternate version of MK30th art. During the MK30 celebration for Mortal Kombat's 30th anniversary, NetherRealm honored the series with a video and some art pieces. This entry refers to the differences between the two MK30 art pieces commemorating the series. Yes, believe it or not, upon close inspection, these two images are slightly different. Here are just a few that I noticed, and let me know if I missed any. This one features MK9 Johnny Cage, whereas this one has the Johnny Cage friendship autograph. This one features Meat beside Raiden and Fujin, whereas this one doesn't. This one features the infamous scene where Shang Tsung snaps Liu Kang's neck beside Quan Chi performing his leg beatdown fatality, whereas this one has Scorpion and Shang Tsung standing beside Shinnok's amulet. This one features an ode to the Armageddon intro where Stryker punches Melina in the face, whereas this one has what looks like Liu Kang punching Onaga. This one has Goro, Shinnok, and Liu Kang's dragon in the lower right corner, whereas this one only has who I think is Shiva. This one has the entirety of the Pyramid of Argus, whereas this one has Blaze standing atop the pyramid. The nose on this one is a skeletal hand, whereas this one is Meat. This one has Sub-Zero obliterating Jade, whereas this one has Sub-Zero versus Scorpion. This one has Baraka attacking a character I can't quite make out, whereas this one just has Baraka standing solo. I may have missed a few differences, but there's no denying that both art pieces are tasteful in honoring the series. MK11 cut Oshtek skins. I'm pretty sure this refers to a pair of Oshtek skins shown in the MK11 story mode that never made it into the game. They appeared in an early build of MK11, and the two I found were of Liu Kang and Kung Lao, which you can see in Katana's chapter. Much like the true UMK3 Scorpion skin from the trailer, these two suffered a similar fate. Rain TW. Back in September 2020, a rumored Rain skin based on his appearance in Mortal Kombat Annihilation was discovered in the MK11 files. Data miner The Thinny was one of various sources who indicated that this skin would be coming to the game, and given that information arrived alongside the 1995 movie skins, it seemed legitimate. The files included the name Rain followed by TW. The running theory was that TW stood for Tyrone Wiggins, the actor who portrayed Rain in MK Annihilation. Unfortunately, that skin never materialized. but with the recent inclusion of the 95 ninjas in MK1, hopefully, there's still a chance. As far as Rain TW is concerned, I couldn't find any conclusive evidence as to what this ended up meaning.
It will never happen again.
Level 8. It's been quite the journey, but we have finally arrived at the last level. This one features the most obscure trivia in this entire iceberg. The visual representation for the final level is a character named Tiamat, whose concept art appears in Deadly Alliance, and many features were later incorporated into Reptile's design. Adenian expulsion theory. This theory revolves around the idea that all other realms originated from Adenia. It's no secret that the biblical Garden of Eden inspired the name Adenia, and the parallels between the two helped inspire the Adenian expulsion theory. Since Adenians are direct descendants of the gods, it's theorized that native Adenians were forced from their realm and separated into different realms, similar to how Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden. This idea explains the presence of humanoid beings across all realms. It also explains the importance of the Adenian incantations, which heavily influenced the Kamidogu and provided a method to transport Onaga back into his original body. Sindel's MK Deception ending references these incantations.
Although Onaga had returned from the dead, he did not re-inhabit his original body. Sindel and Jade found his sarcophagus opened. His body remained, but the armor was missing. Strangely, the hieroglyphics in his tomb were similar to an ancient Edenian language. She discovered an incantation inscribed by Onaga's holy men that was intended to transport his soul back into its original body. As she was memorizing the spell, Onaga emerged from the shadows. Onaga could have defeated both Jade and Sindel, but instead he took sadistic pleasure in unleashing Katana against them. He was a fool. Jade held off Katana, while Sindel thrust her Quan into the heart of the corpse. As she screamed the ancient incantation, Onaga's soul leapt from Reptile's body into its intended vessel. The corpse came to life and cried in agony as the Quan prevented its heart from reforming. Sindel held the blade firmly in place as Onaga returned to the cold sleep of death. With the Dragon King defeated, the realms were safe, and Sindel's daughter Katana was free from his spell. May Edenia know peace once more.
And you can also find this scripture on the Gateway stage in MK1. So overall, and a huge thanks to the Iceberg's creator for the help on this one, the theory is that the creators of this magical language were expelled from Adenia, and it lived on through the lore. False MK2 Mask. This refers to the ninjas in the Mortal Kombat 2 Attract mode shown wearing the most well-known and recognizable paintball-style masks, whereas images captured behind the scenes proves that the actors actually wore the cloth masks shown in the first Mortal Kombat game. Titan Havoc's eyes. The week before MK1 dropped, a streamer gained access to the game and leaked the entire story. In this version, Titan Havoc had normal pupils, whereas when the game released worldwide, Titan Havoc had white pupils. It's unclear how or why this was changed when the game dropped a week later, but yeah, pretty interesting, and the look they went with is more true to the original Havoc design. MK9 Nightwolf was alive for the Trail of Tears. This entry refers to a brief encounter between Nightwolf and Scorpion in MK9, which leads to this dialogue exchange.
Nightwolf!
Your aggression is misplaced.
What do you know of my past?
You are not the only one whose people have been victimized. But I have found new purpose in serving the spirits. I do not cling to the past.
You no longer seek retribution. You dishonor your kind.
I believe the theory is that this version of Nightwolf was alive during the Trail of Tears, which is described as a forced displacement of around 60,000 people of 5 civilized tribes in the 1800s. It's a horrifying story that I won't dive into here, but based on Scorpion's explanation, there could be a connection between Nightwolf and the Trail of Tears. Relum Okanep in Sonya's MK11 ending. Relum Okanep is a bizarre realm located within the Mortal Kombat universe. This was an entry in part 1, so be sure to check that out if you haven't. Anyway, there were a few methods you could use to teleport to this realm, which is essentially a Galaga-type game where you're a little spaceship blasting aliens in outer space. In Sonya's MK11 ending, she teleports to what we can assume is Relum Okanep, where she battles alien creatures.
The realms. Any sane person would run screaming at the sight of them. It's my duty to take out these ancient, all-powerful beings. But to do that, I need an elite squad of immortal gods. Turns out, to make a new god, you've got to destroy an old one. So I hunt the oldest I can find, an omni deity from a forgotten, unpronounceably named realm. It's the fight of my life, but I've got something this god doesn't. Family. Unpronounceably named realm.
Relum Okanep.
Unpronounceably named realm.
Relum Okanep. Is it a callback? I don't know, but I love it. MK1 Throwing Off Dataminers. This refers to the developers of MK1 purposely including false information in the game files, potentially to mislead data miners. The most notable example comes from a video published by reliable data miner Interloco. In a video posted on his channel on November 13th, the game files indicated Scarlet, Nightwolf, Shiva, Kotal, Jarek, Cobra, and even a cyber version of Cabal, which I'm not gonna lie, sounds incredible, would be in the game. Characters like Jarek and Cobra are notoriously hated, so NetherRealm may have included this as a troll. Despite their best efforts, the entire story expansion alongside Combat Pack 2 leaked shortly after the game launched worldwide. But I'll just say, I wouldn't be against a cyberized version of Cabal. Shang Tsung killed Muso Ganosuke. This entry stems from the Bo Rai Cho segment in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance's Conquest mode. In the game, the Drunken Master utilizes the staff-based Jojitsu fighting style. As explained via in-game text, Bo Rai Cho helped the real developer of Jojitsu, Muso Ganosuke, before Shang Tsung consumed his soul during the inaugural Mortal Kombat tournament. Jojitsu is the Japanese art of the short staff. It was first used by Muso Ganosuke in the early 1600s after his loss to the swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, while using a long staff of 6 feet. With assistance from Master Bo Rai Cho, he subsequently developed a style with a shorter staff of 4 feet. Although he beat Musashi in a second duel, he was later defeated in the first Mortal Kombat tournament. Ganosuke's soul was consumed by the sorcerer Shang Tsung. This is an insane connection, but it's not the only link to ancient martial arts techniques. The founder of Aikido created the Black Dragon. Kano's segment in the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance Conquest mode explicitly references famous Japanese martial artist Morihei Ueshiba, who founded the Aikido fighting style. A line of text explains that Ueshiba formed the Black Dragon, which explains why Kano utilizes the Aikido fighting style in the game. Although, some comments I've found explain that none of Kano's moves are based on this martial arts discipline. Stan Luth. Stan Luth is the fictitious Mortal Kombat janitor that cleans all of the blood off of the battle arenas.
Melina wins. Fatality.
Employed by Shao Kahn beginning in 8000 BC, Stan Luth got the job by simply asking the Emperor of Outworld, who proceeded to put him in a fight against an 8-armed beast. This fake interview, published in the November 1995 issue of the Video Games magazine, provides insight into the mind of Stan Luth. He explains his role of cleaning all sorts of body parts and mopping blood. Apparently, Shao Kahn decided to use a white carpet at one point, a decision the janitor did not appreciate. Stan Luth is over 10,000 years old and was quite upset to not be included on the Mortal Kombat 1 roster. He did not make the trek to Earthrealm for the plot of Mortal Kombat 3, so he's been standing idly by, waiting for more messes to clean. I also noticed that the magazine spells Khan incorrectly. Honorable mentions. Although that concludes the Iceberg, a few commenters reached out looking for me to mention some other bits of Mortal Kombat trivia. So, while these don't fit into the overall Iceberg, we'll call these honorable mentions. Dorphin. X-Ray81 requested this entry. Dorphin is a mysterious high mage referenced in a pair of Mortal Kombat 1 pre-fight interactions. First between Tanya and Reptile.
Your thoughts on the new high mage?
I'm not sure Dorphin has the metal.
And then between Rain and Kung Lao.
Your replacement has been selected.
Dorphin isn't ready to be Outworld's high mage.
Before MK1, however, OG fans might remember the stage called Noob Saibot's Dorphin from Mortal Kombat 3 and certain versions of UMK3. This stage was only available for the secret fight with Noob Saibot, and it's worth noting that Dorphin is an anagram of Forden, as in Dan Forden. Toasty! Could this high mage character appear in a future game? We don't know yet. Java Phone's UMK3. Cypress Beyblade requested this entry. Java Phone's J2ME UMK3 is a playable version of the game on Java phones. It's a primitive version of the game, but it actually looks pretty decent. Some interesting notes about this version is that the roster depended on your phone's storage capacity. The playable characters included Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Katana, Liu Kang, Cyrax, and Shao Kahn. You had to choose whether you wanted to hear the game's sound effects or music, as you couldn't have both. Also, according to one of the devs who worked on the game, the graveyard stage featured Your Mom jokes written in Polish, since the developing company Playsoft is based in Poland. Everybody's running around. Queen Cream requested this entry. This refers to one of the many bizarre lines of dialogue in the Chaos Realm within the Mortal Kombat Deception Conquest mode. And that's that. The ultimate Mortal Kombat Iceberg explained.
Fatality.
This was an insane undertaking, and although it wasn't a tier list, I'm glad people enjoyed it. If nothing else, I think we've all learned that this franchise that dates back several decades has an incredibly extensive lore beneath the surface. I genuinely enjoyed the process of learning and researching each and every one of these topics, but this would not have been possible without the help of Combat Guy 800. Not only did he create this iceberg, but he also helped me with many of the entries along the way. I also want to shout out and thank anyone whose clips I used in this video, as they were crucial in this process. I hope you enjoyed this iceberg explanation, and if I missed anything or misspoke on any of the entries, please let me know in the comments. I'm always open to video ideas and suggestions, so be sure to drop those in the comments, and if you want, like the video and subscribe to my channel. As always, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon.